Hey guys, today we're talking to Gillian B. Gillian is a yoga teacher based out of Toronto. She also is the director of nutrition at TrueStar Health, and she runs a program called Yoga Booty with her business partner Irina. And today we're going to teach you a whole lot about yoga. In this interview, you'll learn about the physical and spiritual benefits of yoga, how to not feel stiff when you get out of bed in the morning, the importance of breathing in yoga and the difference that it makes, the benefits that Gillian has found in practicing yoga, both physical and spiritual, how Gillian deals with losing motivation to work out, how you can become a yoga pro in as quick as possible, it's not that easy, the common mistakes that beginners make, the importance of breathing in yoga, Gillian's view on whether or not yoga is dangerous. Side note, it's not dangerous, really. We'll also learn about Gillian's experience with the chakra energy system that is sometimes talked about in yoga practice. We'll hear Gillian's opinion on whether or not people of different religions should or can practice yoga, as there's been some controversy. And then we'll talk about nutrition and the effect that proper nutrition has had on Gillian. And you'll learn about the common mistakes that vegetarians make when they're first switching over to a vegetarian diet and how to avoid that. It's real easy. All right, guys, today we're talking to Gillian B. Gillian is a yoga teacher based out of Toronto. She runs a training program called Yoga Booty, and she is a rep for TrueStar Health. How's that sound? Did I do that right?
I'm actually the director of nutrition and health with director of nutrition and yoga with TrueStar.
Okay, wicked.
Yeah.
All right, let's begin. So how long have you been practicing yoga, and why has it taken on such a big role in your life?
I've been practicing yoga for the last 3.5 years. I did take some classes before that, but seriously practicing yoga for the last 3.5 years. And how did it impact my life? Sorry, was that the question?
Yeah, like why has it been like a major thing in your life?
Right. Well, let's see. I came into yoga wanting to find like a workout. And that's kind of how it started. And it was just like a workout. And then slowly over time, I just began to, practice more and more and go to more classes. And I was really inspired by my teacher at the time. And it just slowly went from being a more physical workout, and that was my goal in the beginning, and then it kind of progressed and became more of a spiritual practice as well. So it's not just the physical, and for me now it's just like it's so perfect.
Yeah.
I love yoga. Yeah.
Very cool. So like what sort of physical benefits did you initially find from yoga, and what spiritual benefits have kind of come into your life since then?
Okay. Physical benefits, yoga works a lot of your core, because even for all of the balancing poses, your core is what really keeps everything together. If you're strong in the core, your outer limbs, reflect that as well. So, I mean, that was one really awesome physical benefit. At first was just noticing, my body was getting stronger. I was able to do the poses with ease. The breathing came after a while as well. That does take a little bit of time to kind of get your mind around, but it was not a competition with myself, but it was very motivational to kind of see how I was progressing, even with each class, like just making small, minor changes and improvements with every class.
As far as like flexibility and strength and whatnot?
Right, yeah, and just, maybe going one notch, deeper in the twist or the back bend than I could before. And, that's kind of the greatest part about the physical, but where the spiritual part kind of comes into play is you are learning about your body from the inside out. So, with each and every breath, you're kind of monitoring your body and, getting a sense for, how that stretch feels and all of that. So you're really learning about yourself on a whole new level. It's a whole new awareness, and just that body-mind connection is priceless. Then from there, I started to take my teacher training, and my yoga teacher, or I call her my yoga mom, she's just a wealth of knowledge, and she kind of started to slowly introduce, the more principles and philosophies of yoga, which have, made crazy changes in my life. So,
Okay. As far as like mental benefits, because a lot of the times when you go to yoga class, there will be like a meditation class held afterwards or before, whatever. Have you found that that's carried over into your daily life in some sort of unexpected way?
Uh, taking, like doing my own meditation practice?
Either doing your own meditation or, yoga classes themselves and teaching yoga.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, for a long time when I first started teaching, I was, taking a lot from my yoga mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she did a lot of guided meditations. So that kind of was just natural. I was always just leading people through guided meditations at the end of practice while they're in Shavasana. It wasn't until about a year and a bit ago that I actually started meditating on my own. And I really wish that I could go back in time and start, and introduce that at an earlier time. But I mean, I think that's just part of my own natural growth and personal development.
Mm-hmm. And what do you get out of that? Like, do you find you're more calm in daily life?
I just find that it kind of like, it just washes away everything, all of your worries, all of your concerns. It just kind of starts your day. I mean, I meditate in the morning for, maybe 5-10 minutes. It's not much, but that's really all that you need. It just gives you that fresh start, and, you can kind of carry on the rest of your day with that clarity. It's very hard to describe, and not a lot of people do kind of take to meditation right away.
Mm-hmm.
But you do see the benefits of meditation over an extended period of time. Like it's just, I can see it in people. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, great. When you wake up in the morning, you said you meditate in the morning. Do you go through like a short little yoga routine?
Yeah, I do. Depending on how rushed I am. So, like a lot of the times I teach while I'm at my office here. So most mornings I'll try to at least, get, again, that 5 to 10 minutes in. I have a little bit of a routine that I do, but I switch it up because, it's just whatever you feel like. Yoga is very much an expression. So even when I teach my classes, I teach just whatever I feel that day. There's no scripts, there's no planning. It's just, I feel it's a creative outlet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm sure we have a lot of athletes watching, and like myself, we get out of bed in the morning and we feel stiff all over. Are you like that? Were you like that before yoga? Has that changed at all?
I can't remember a time where I woke up and I was stiff, except for if I've worked out like, pretty heavy the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I still get that from time to time if I'm really pushing myself. But, I mean, I personally, I don't think that I'm old enough to kind of experience that, those aches and pains and the wear and tear. But I do know for a fact, I mean, my mom, I just recently got her onto yoga, and, she was always waking up, always complaining about her stiffness, always complaining about her joints. And, she's been practicing my little yoga videos from home. I mean, I don't live with her anymore, but like she's floored. She's just so excited because she can see the changes, and she, that pain is slowly slipping away.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Where can people, you mentioned yoga videos, are those on YouTube or TrueStar's website?
So I put them everywhere, actually. They're just promotional videos, so I put them on my own website, which is gillianb.com. We have them on the TrueStar website as well. You can check out truestar.com/GillianB. And then on YouTube as well, you could just search them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so a question about poses. What's the most difficult pose you can do?
There's a few. Wow, that's a hard one. King, like the most advanced version of King Pigeon, is pretty hard. It's the most intense back bend.
So that's like where you bend backwards, way backwards.
You're on your knees, and you're arched all the way back, and your hands are touching your toes. So you're like completely arced over. That's a really hard one.
Would you say that's hardest in terms of flexibility?
Yeah, because what's most hard about it, and I found when I first started practicing that pose, was getting your breath in. Because I know that I'm pretty flexible, and I have like a pretty flexible spine, so I am able to back bend. But when I first started, I couldn't really take a deep breath in, because you have to work on expanding all of the intercostal muscles, and that takes a lot of time to do over, over an extended period. So I can see even with my, improvements in that pose that my breath has come a long way. And that's what yoga is all about, really. You let your breath guide you.
Yeah.
And never really the other way around, or it's not supposed to be anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried a couple of yoga classes, and that's what I always found, was that it was so hard to remember to breathe properly through the movements. It was like the last thing that was on my mind.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel unmotivated to work out? Because that's a big one with people, is like they'll get motivation, like maybe New Year's resolutions to work out, and then they'll stop after like a month or two. How do you deal with motivation?
I mean, this is pretty hard for me because like I'm very blessed that I do what I love and I love what I do. So with yoga, I'm constantly working out with my class as well as with Yoga Booty. My business partner and best friend Irina, she teaches the boot camp portion, whereas I teach the yoga. Mm-hmm. So it's a fusion of the two. We do boot camp first, and then we follow up with like a long restorative yoga session. So I get to do a lot of the boot camp, and she gets to do a lot of yoga. So it's just I just do it. I love it. So
yeah.
I mean, I know that it is a challenge for most people because they have to kind of break their routine every day and really push themselves to create that time. But I think that a really good way to avoid that lack of motivation is to really schedule it. And working out with your girlfriends or your guy friends, whatever, is a really great way to go about that, because then you have someone to hold you accountable to making that appointment and making that commitment to work out that day.
Yeah. I think it makes it a lot more fun and competitive in a way as well, too. So.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so if someone wanted to get really good at yoga in as quickly a time as possible, aside from practice, what would you recommend they do? Are there any shortcuts?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yoga is a personal journey, and you never want to force yourself into a pose that you're not ready for. That's just going to take you, it's counterproductive. It's just going to take you, 3 steps back when you want to be slowly progressing. So I did experience that. I was wanting to improve maybe at a faster pace than my body was ready, but you really just have to kind of wait for your body to let you in to every stretch, to every twist. That's where the whole, connection with your body comes in. You have to really set the ego aside and just be with yourself.
Okay. So if someone can not get into the pose, they shouldn't try and force themselves into it. They should just relax into it as far as they can go. Yeah.
So just, learning your boundaries is very important in yoga. You want to challenge yourself, but you have to know your limits. If your body will give you little signs and symptoms. If you have a tingling in the back of your knee, then you should probably, hold off a little bit and just, use your breath. That's what I teach in all of my classes, is just to really, use your exhales to kind of lead you into that pose a little bit deeper, just to the point where everything's comfortable. You might get a little bit of sensation of the actual stretch, but, if you're feeling some twerking or anything like that, you really just want to not go so far.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What are the most common mistakes that beginners make?
Well, that's one of them.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it. A lot of beginners, they're really worried about kind of, looking to see how the pose is done. And if they're not looking at the teacher, then they're looking around, at the other people in the class. And again, I want to emphasize that yoga is a very personal journey, and it's the least competitive thing that's out there. You don't want to be looking at your neighbor and judging and creating that negative mind chatter within yourself. You want to just kind of just pretend that there's no one else in the room. It's just you. It's not about the teacher. It's not about anyone else in the room. Just you. So I think that's one thing that beginners don't realize. But it's extremely important.
Also, with the beginner, if they want to start doing yoga at home, maybe they found a cool podcast or a YouTube channel or something. Are there any risks or hazards there versus going and getting like a classroom type scenario with a teacher and everything?
Right. So I would say if you're a perfectly healthy person and you don't have any known injuries, I don't think that would be a problem. But for people who do have previous injuries or what have you, then you might want to get a personal lesson. One thing that I can recommend to you is actually on the TrueStar website. For the last year and a half, I've been building this online yoga sequence builder. So with that, it's a database of about 160 different yoga poses that I wrote how to do each one. Your breath work, the contraindications, meaning if you have that knee injury, then you should kind of be careful in this pose, and also the benefits of each pose. So it's really great because you can just kind of pick and choose which ones you'd like to do. I'd like to do this back bend and then this and that, and it lines them all up for you. And then you can either print it off, read a pose, do a pose, read a pose, do a pose, or you can follow along some of my designer sequences that I've made, and then again the videos.
Okay, so, cool. And that's on the TrueStar website?
Yeah, it is. So just TrueStar.com/Gillian B, and you'll find it in the exercise section.
Okay, we'll put a link to that below. Sure. Now we talked a little bit about breathing. How important is breathing in yoga?
It's really, really important. It's right up there. So, I mean, for me, my own personal story was, I was very concerned with getting the physical practice down, and that's where a lot of people stand. They're not even concerned with the breath at all in their first few classes because, they're just really worried about, oh, am I doing this right? Just really trying to get the poses down. And I understand that because it's like a foreign language. So it took me probably a few months of taking regular yoga classes to really get the breath down. Because it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of information to take in, but it is ever so important, and I can't stress that enough. Like, again, yoga is structured around the breath. So, the physical practice should kind of come after. The breath is number one, always.
How different did it feel versus the original yoga you were doing where you didn't have the breath down and it was more physical versus yoga with the breath in place?
It's like night and day.
Yeah.
It is. You just feel a lot more in tune with everything, and once you do kind of have the breath guiding you, you'll be more sensitive and more aware of what's going on in the body. Your sensations that are going on are there to kind of keep the mind from venturing outward into worrying about your day and how much stuff you have to do and all of that. So that's it's very internal. Okay. And it's about turning your attention inward.
All right, so the New York Times, they published an article on yoga, and they were basically saying it's a dangerous thing to do. Did you see that article?
Yeah, I read a little bit of it.
All right, so what do you think? What do you think about that?
A few of my friends have actually wrote rebuttals to it as well. So I think that with any physical anything, whether it's a sport, you could be walking and injuring yourself, So I think that with anything, with any physical, anytime you're moving your body, even just sitting, you have the risk of injuring yourself. So yes, you can injure yourself in yoga. That's, people do all the time. But I think that if you are practicing mindfully and really taking the time to take your attention to the alignment of each pose and your breath again, then the risks are significantly lower than a lot of other sports.
Okay. Have you ever had any injuries doing yoga?
Yeah. I injured my shoulder. I was doing chaturanga wrong for a really long time. no one even really told me, but I don't know if you can see, but
what's chaturanga?
Chaturanga is like kind of like where you're in high plank and then you hover down to low plank.
Okay, like a push-up position?
Kind of, you go from push-up position and then you hover all the way down to low push-up. So,
gotcha.
But the problem was, so yeah, I was doing it like this, where my hands were about near my shoulders or just above that. And see the angle at which my elbow is at?
Yes.
That's unsafe.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you have your elbow at 90 degrees and your wrist at 90 degrees. So that sends the right firing mechanisms all the way up into the shoulder and protects the shoulder. Whereas if I was doing it like this, and I was for a very long time, chronic repetitive strain, it caused a little bit of a problem in my shoulder, which was ruining my life. So yeah, I've really learned from that, and I think that it happened for a reason. It's taught me to just be a lot more mindful with my practice, and doing things lazily and not putting every bit that you've got into it is just counterproductive.
Yeah. Okay. With the beginners, do you think there's like a most common injury that they sustain?
I'd say probably shoulder.
Yeah, it's shoulders, eh?
Especially if you're doing a style of like Ashtanga, where you're doing push-up, you're doing that chaturanga in pretty much between a lot of poses. So you're doing it a lot. And again, if you don't know how to protect yourself, and you're just kind of doing it, I don't want to say, but half-ass, then you have a high risk of injuring yourself. Yes, but I think shoulder or maybe knee.
Okay. All right, let's switch gears a bit. There's a lot of talk about chakras when you talk about yoga. Do you feel yoga has affected your energy systems, and do you believe in chakras and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't when I first started.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I was ever closed to it and just didn't, was shut off to it, but I didn't know much about it, and it just kind of seemed like fake to me. But the sharper my awareness became over time, with my own body, the more I was able to kind of see the effects and just feel it. It's very subtle, but it's there for sure.
Can you like feel things now where, let's say you get angry at someone, can you feel like energy in your belly area, and then you forgive them and you feel it rise up to your heart area? Do you feel anything like that?
I'm just very in tune with all of my emotions, and I was getting crazy anxiety before I really started getting into yoga, and I've really learned how to. It just prepares you to. It prepares you to how to act in certain situations where you might have really been quick-tempered before. Mm-hmm. But I just feel it's so hard to describe because it's such an internal thing.
Yeah.
But I feel that I have pretty good energy, and going to the law of attraction. You can just feel people's energy when they come near you, or when they walk into a room. It's wonderful, and it's a subtlety, but it's something that takes some time to really kind of become in tune with.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between yoga and asana practice? Did I say that right?
Asana, yeah.
Okay.
So yoga is an umbrella term, means union, basically. So the union of the mind, body, and soul. And the asana practice is the physical practice. So yoga, again, over on one side is everything from, there's a lot of different styles of yoga. Some styles of yoga there's not a lot of physical practice at all. It's a lot of meditation. Yoga, meditation, the philosophy is all kind of under the umbrella term of yoga, whereas the physical practice is the asanas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clears that up. Okay, so there are people that believe yoga is about worshiping Hindu gods, and because they aren't Hindu, yoga isn't an okay activity to engage in. What are your thoughts on this?
I do think it's a little bit silly. um, I think that, I mean, yoga goes back years and years and years and years and years. And, some say that it was kind of, people were trying to imitate animals stretching. So if it goes back that far and it's just about, you being, with nature and again, coming back to the awareness, I don't, I think, I don't think it has much to do with any religion, whether it's one way or the other. It's that personal practice, and lots of people find their way into yoga a lot of different ways. Whether it's whether it's, I don't know. There's just so many different angles, and I don't think that you can just close it off and say that it's a religious practice, because it can be different to everyone.
So if someone comes to a yoga class with you, it doesn't mean that they're trying to be converting to Hindu religion, right?
No, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fix this light. One sec.
Sure.
Okay. So you went to Guelph University for nutrition, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What impact has nutrition had on your life, and also what's your daily diet like?
Okay. Well, I started at a very young age, just being extremely interested in what was in the food I was eating. Like, I can remember being like 7 years old and asking my mom, like, what's in the cheese, and how many grams of fat are in it. Like, it started very, very young for me, and it was an obsession, but a healthy obsession. And then I excelled in nutrition class all the way through school, and I always knew I always knew that was something that it was my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga is another great passion of mine, but I'm really lucky that they go hand in hand. But nutrition I'm brainwashed. I'm absolutely brainwashed.
Okay, I'm gonna move my setup here to get more light. You're brainwashed by yoga and nutrition?
Yeah, I am, totally.
Okay, so what's
my daily diet?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lacto-ovo, meaning I eat milk, cheese, and eggs. I don't eat fish or any like other animal byproducts. So I normally start my day with oatmeal or like quinoa porridge with lots of fruits, flax, pumpkin seeds, Greek yogurt for extra protein. And I even do include some of True Star's protein powder. We have a whey protein powder. Mm-hmm. For lunch, normally I have like salads, lots of times salads. With, you always got to make sure you have a protein in there. So I'll either have, chickpeas or lentils on the salad, maybe an egg, and just loads and loads of vegetables. When I go to make a meal, I always think proteins and veggies. Like, those are the two things that need to come together. The carbs in my diet kind of come through snacking. So, mm-hmm. I'll, sometimes have like cheese and crackers or something when I'm snacking. So I just really focus on veggies and protein. Same for dinner as well. Some like a stir fry or like roasted veggies with chickpeas or whatever's around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever have problems sticking to your diet?
No, because again, it's just ingrained. I do eat junk food from time to time. Like, I try to stick to the 80-20 rule. So, being good 80% of the time, and, if you want to have some treats sometimes, then that's fine. Just as long as, you're not eating the treats and feeling guilty about it, because that's, going to cause a whole chain reaction, and, it's not good for your body to feel that guilt.
Okay. A lot of people, when they switch from like a meat-eating diet to a vegetarian diet, they say there's a big difference in their energy levels. Did you find anything like that?
Well, I learned the hard way. when I became vegetarian when I was 13. My family was, they ate pretty much meat and potatoes. And I just decided to cut the meat out. And I didn't do it properly. I wasn't educated when I was, on how to become a vegetarian properly at that time. So I was just kind of cutting out the meat and eating the potatoes and the vegetables. So no protein. Like my protein was maybe like a glass of milk. And I got really sick. I remember like coming home from high school and just being so drained. I would sleep until 9 o'clock, and my mom would wake me up and like force me to eat, and I would pretty much go right back to bed. Like, and that happened for like a few months, and I was like, "There's something wrong." Like, and then I just started to to do some reading, and I figured it out on my own over time.
Yeah.
Learning how to properly substitute and just making sure that you've got all of your bases covered, because that probably stunted my growth a little bit. That's such a prime time. Not only that, with proteins is making sure that you have your omega-3s as well. I pretty much went until I was 20 years old, barely substituting for my omega-3s. I was including some flax, but definitely not enough. And of the flax that you do consume, they say, between 10-15% is actually absorbed. So I've recently started, really paying attention to that.
Okay. And do you get the omega-3s? Is that you're getting that from flax? Do you buy omega-3 enriched eggs as well?
I do. I have organic omega-3 eggs. I have flax in my oatmeal every morning, flax oil in my smoothies. And also I'm taking a vegetarian omega-3 supplement, which is from like algae.
Yep. DHA, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, there's someone.
That's all right.
I'm in a glass bowl.
Okay. We talked a little bit about Yoga Booty. Is that something you run locally in Toronto? Is there an online portion you're expanding to?
Yeah, basically, my girlfriend and I, Irina, we kind of came up with the concept because she was so passionate about boot camp and I was so passionate about yoga, and we tried it together one time and it was just like an instant match. We were running classes in Toronto, actually, at the TrueStar office for a while. We were doing it for a few months, and then over the Christmas break, we kind of decided, and we wanted to shift more to online anyways. So we decided to cancel the classes and really just focus on, pushing our brand and really, creating our new website, which is going to eventually be a subscription website, for Yoga Booty. It's just going to have, videos on recipes, videos on workouts, videos on yoga, everything. It's just like we're trying to create like an online community.
Okay, cool. Do you have that's yogabooty.ca or .com?
.ca, yeah.
Okay, great.
Right now it's just a splash page, so it's under construction, but you could also check out our fan page on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/yogabooty.
Okay, cool. Last question. What else are you working on, and what are your plans for the future? Actually, that's the second last question. I just remembered.
Okay, no problem. What else am I working on? So with TrueStar, it's kind of a lot of my focus right now, but always improving the website. I as well work on the content for the TrueStar website. So always looking for ways to improve in any way we can and every day. With that as well, we just launched as a network marketing company. So I've kind of, had to learn how to I'm in the executive team. So I've kind of had to pick that up and learn that really quickly as well. So that's another really big challenge, but I'm, working on that as well. It's a slow, but it's going to be really, really great eventually. So.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. If you could go back, say, 3 or 4 years, what advice would you give yourself on not only yoga, but how to get into good shape in general?
3 or 4 years ago? Committing to a regular workout regime. Like, I was very wishy-washy 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I'd go, and go really intense working out for like most people probably do. working out and then kind of falling off the wagon and not working out for a long time and just coasting and then getting that spike of motivation again. And so there needs to be consistency. And as soon as you can, make that commitment and find something that fits into your daily routine or your weekly routine, that's what's really going to stick. And, that's the goal, is something that you can continue and fit into your routine today, tomorrow, and in the future. You want it to be consistent.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much, Gillian.
No problem.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. You can learn more about Gillian at gillianb.com, and her new website, yogabooty.ca, will be launching soon, or by the time you listen to this, it will probably actually be up. So go and check that out if you're interested. And as always, if you want to hear more interviews like this one, you can check us out at bodyhack.com.